Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the May 8th special call meeting work session here. And I apologize for the lateness of the start. Just came back from a program where we had 350 people. 300 of them had cars. They all wanted to leave at the same time. So we had a little trouble getting out. But thanks to the help of the Marietta Police Department, we finally got out of there and we're now ready to get to work. So with that, I just want to remind everybody that there'll be no motions, no votes today on today's briefings. We're only going to consider information as is presented. And so with that, I'd like to bring Bill Volkman up, or Sam, whoever wants to do this, start this presentation, your call. And we'll be discussing the budgets for the Department of Public Safety.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Chairman, Board of Commissioners, and County Manager. I will be presenting our public safety budget presentation to you today. I will give a little bit of oversight on the DPS administration, and then I'll let each department head come up and give their presentation as far as each one of their departments goes. But first, our mission statement for public safety obviously is to provide public safety services in a professional and efficient manner to our citizens and visitors of Cobb County. Our DPS administration, and it gets a little, it may be a little hard to understand, but DPS, Department of Public Safety, it should be Departments of Public Safety because there's several different departments of public safety. But in the DPS administrative side of it is the one I'm going to be talking about first. And that is my office, the Director of Public Safety. I have an executive assistant. I have executive officer from fire, an executive officer from PD. Each one of them have under them, one is a communications coordinator, the other has DPS facilities maintenance, and then I have an administration division manager who's over the personnel, HR representatives there, and our supply unit. On the other side, I have also over the internal affairs division, animal control, safety village, and our DPS training facility. And then the departments underneath our EMA our emergency 911, 800 megahertz, police department, and fire department. The budget for the public safety, as you can see, is really split in three different categories: general fund, fire fund, and the 911 fund. I'm going to be talking about the DPS administrative funds, and then again, I'll have each one of the agency directors or heads come up to talk about theirs. On the public safety administration side, if you look, it does, I put the asterisk there because that's quite a jump from 15 to 16. And until 2015, our DPS positions were being paid through fund transfers from fire, police, and 911. And in 2016, we began having each department pay for their own individual personnel, meaning for example, I have two executive officers, one from fire, one from police. Fire pays for theirs, police pays for theirs. But we still, for positions such as administrative positions, those funds are split between police, fire, and 911. Not equally, but it's 45% police, 45% fire, and 10% for 911. And that's how we fund some of our personnel in public safety administration. But short story, our FY17 budget was $274,014. FY18 requested was $623,577 for a difference of $349,000 and $563. And I'll give you a little how that is on our personnel services. Communications coordinator that we brought forward by underfilling the police position, and we're asked to bring forth that in the FY18 budget with a flat budget that will not be funded. We'll continue, unless otherwise directed, to underfill that police position until the 19 budget. Fiscal Tech 3 at our supply unit, and that was primarily because of the number of officers and firefighters increase. We were not increasing our administrative pieces out at our supply unit. So that's another one that was underfilled with a police officer's position, and but will not be available with a flat budget. And then on our DPS, our Department Personnel Representative, this is a position that's needed, but we're not going to bring that forward because we knew that we weren't going to be able to get that funded, as well as our records management system coordinator. On our operating side, we had FY16, or was 106,772. Adopted in FY17 was 92,570. We requested 101,420 with a difference of 8,850. And that was Adobe Administration, which is a piece of software that our communications coordinator uses for his job. MCM, Asset Management Support Person Supply Unit. That's also how we track, and one of the things we had to do to maintain our inventory and go safely through an audit. And then our ICS janitorial services at the supply unit. And that came up to 8,850 that it will not be funded with a flat budget. On our capital, on the, again, this is public safety. There was no capital, and what we had asked for was 35,000 and then 65,000. And you'll see that that's incident tracking it's software for our IA. And we will be bringing that one back whenever we get funding for it, as well as a pool car for our administrative side, and then a truck for our supply unit. The way we're doing that right now is a vehicle row down, and then fire is going to allow us to use one of their row down pieces of vehicle to make that work.
Sam, hold on a second.
Yes.
Director, on the incident tracking software, do we not have that capability in our current software that the police department uses?
So what we're using today, and if I'm not mistaken, is it's spreadsheets is what we're using today. What we were looking at going with is a software that allows us across the board, police, fire, 911, any of those. And it's kind of it's also a way of red flagging if we see, whether fire, police, or whatever, if you see a name pop up with discipline or complaints a number of times, it kind of throws a red flag up. And it's kind of like an early warning device, if you will, as well as tracking all of our, any of our disciplinary issues that we have that track through IA. Right now, we are using spreadsheets to keep that up.
I would hope you could use a piece of paper, because I don't want to have that many incidents.
We're only human, sir. Good? Okay. Next is, let's see, did we get to the, next is our training center. And this one's kind of interesting because when DPS was originally formed, the training center was going to come under DPS, including its personnel. But what happened over the years was, as the people grew in there, we were not taking that on through DPS. Police would add a few officers, and fire would add a few officers, and the next thing we know, we had police officers and firefighters, some being paid through DPS, some being paid through fire, some being paid through PD. So in 2015, again, you'll see that strange number go from 1,889,000 to 821. We separated out. If you're on the fire payroll, fire pays for you. If you're on the police payroll, then police pays for you. But what you're going to see here is we did that with personnel, but we didn't necessarily do that with some of the equipment and supplies that are needed at DPS. And that's one thing I'm going to be working with finance and the police department to see if we can't make that more. If it's PD, PD should pay for it. If it's fire, fire should pay for it. And if it's a conglomeration of both, for example, the exercise equipment that's at our the training center, if that's being used by police, fire, 911, then we all should be pitching in paying for it. But if it's only being used by one department, then that department should be paying for it. It's what we're trying to clean up a little bit. But you'll see that as we kind of go along. But the difference in this one, as of right now, is the 182,825, and I'll show you some of those. These are on the operating side, and Again, many of these you'll see are primarily law enforcement related, and that's the ones that I would like to eventually get it back into the general fund for the law enforcement side. But it's everything from small tools, ammunitions and explosives, food and service supplies, and janitorial supplies that are used there at the training center. The janitorial supplies, if it's for the entire training center, then that's a DPS, in my opinion. If it's explosives and ammunition, we're not using that in fire and 911, so they shouldn't be funding that, in my opinion. So that's one of the things we hope to clean up. A continuation of that operating. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner. The increase for bringing the repair of weapons in-house, why is that preferable as opposed to sending them off-site?
I'm sorry.
There's an increase associated with bringing repair of weapons in-house. Do you know why?
Oh, okay, I'm seeing now.
It's the first bullet.
Yeah, so the increase, and what we do, if the weapons need repair, we have trained personnel that can do it at training. But with the increase in the number of weapons, with the increase of the number of officers,
Okay.
it's everything from your sidearm to your backup weapon to your patrol rifle. And so as we add officers, we've added a number more of weapons, if you will.
So this increase is not necessarily associated with being more costly to fix and decide, it's because there's just more stuff to repair.
Correct,
Oh,
correct. And I'm, okay, making sure. Yes, ma'am. Sure, go ahead.
But right now, we're contracting that work out?
No, we do right now we do everything inside that we can possibly do unless it's something where it's a real damage. We are
Okay,
doing
because
that.
it says in-house instead of sending out for repairs.
And I think, did we ever go outside?
Major damage, and as it goes out, we have armors in the department that do all the repairs. Those increases would come from more parts.
The number of,
Trainings that come through there, whatever, to service the weapons themselves. And
Okay.
if they don't have that increase, then they would work to try to get the money to send it out to repair, since they don't have the parts to repair themselves.
do we have enough personnel in-house to do this?
We're currently supplementing some of the weapon repairs with officers that are armor certified in the precincts.
Okay.
So to answer your question, so it's,
It
it
was
can be
never
heard.
contracted out.
Right, we don't contract it out.
Have we
do
ever
the
looked at
repairs.
that?
I'm not sure that we've ever looked at it at length.
I don't believe we've ever looked at it. That'd be a concern about the amount of time taking the weapon out of service,
Yeah.
whereas if we can do it in-house, turn it around in half a day, get it back in service.
Okay.
Another
Yes.
question on this slide. There was another slide that, well, a number of your slides had the same terminology up at the top. Where it says needed but not brought forward due to flat budget.
Right.
So if it's needed, but you have a flat budget, have you been moving forward with the service or have you been foregoing the service because of the flat budget?
Short story is we've been making it work to the best we can.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what we've been doing.
I hear
And
you.
that can mean anything from, as we've talked about, prioritizing what will get done and when. Obviously, the safety of our officers and our personnel is number one. That's where it's gonna go first. And if that means we can't buy some of the janitorial supplies, then.
That's a problem for me.
I
Because this is the second slide where I'm seeing janitorial services. It is because health and safety go hand in hand.
agree with you.
So there was another slide that, and I don't know what janitorial services were associated with it, but if you're not cleaning mats and people are being trained on them, then you can end up with some other ancillary issues. And it's just, it's interesting for that to be brought to our attention, that something that basic could be foregone.
Commissioner, and I will tell you that what we've done in the past is we've had firefighters, police officers cutting grass, weed eating, and mopping and cleaning toilets, if that's what we need to do to keep the training center clean. So now we've been able to sustain that this year, and I think we'll be able to do it again, I hope, or we're going to be back to our personnel doing it.
Interesting.
One more quick question, Director. The weapons repair, I imagine they've been to armor school, the ones that are doing this, correct? I'm sorry.
I'll have them come up because I know they can't hear and.
Chief, I guess what I'm asking, we've sent them to Glock Armor School and Patrol Rifle School or whatever so they can repair these weapons.
Yes, sir, that's correct. The precincts have probably about 5 to 8 armors in every precinct that can take care of each issues in that precinct. If it's a patrol rifle or a shotgun issue, then the range master and his staff have been to that required training, and those can be fixed at the range.
Okay, so you're telling us that we need $6,000 worth more parts and things in order to.
Toolboxes.
And toolboxes. et
Right,
cetera.
tools and the parts usually increase in cost, and to keep those things available for the officers in the precincts or the range staff, yes, sir.
And then it keeps them in service in a timely manner, and I'm sure if we send it to Glock or to Colt or whatever, it costs a whole lot more money.
Yes, sir, because you'll have shipping time, and they may not, they'll just put it in assembly as they come in, whereas if we can do it in-house, we can most time get them back in service within
Well, I,
a
for
day.
one, let's don't do that. Let's get $6,000 somewhere if we have to take it out of the chairman's salary. Okay.
We'll leave that up to you.
That's-
Yes. Any other questions on that one?
So this also includes cleaning supplies, right?
Yes, sir. Continuing on with the operating, how we came up with the number when we started of, just reminding you of the 92,000. Some additional stuff was an increase in uniforms, safety supplies, registration. You can see some of these are small numbers, but you can see how they add up to, at the end, a $92,000 request. On our capital improvement, needed but won't be brought forward, is 35,000, and you can see there for the various things for education, training equipment, and then recreational equipment. Again, when you get to the treadmills and you get to the fitness equipment, to me, that's more of a DPS. Some of the other things there that we've talked about are more on the law enforcement side, and hopefully we'll find a way to kind of keep those separated a little better going forward. And I think next up.
So where's Bill? All right, this is a good time to talk about this recapitalization program that we talked about at the last work session.
Yes, sir.
Are vehicles included in this? Go back to your last slide, Sam, please. This capital improvement, capital replacement.
This does not include vehicles, sir. Vehicles are all handled through fleet.
Okay.
Or our last round of vehicles through public safety were handled through SPOS, but that was one man, one car. That was not replacing existing fleet.
Yeah, but we're not replacing all cars with SPOS dollars, are we?
No, sir. That was one-time purchase for one man, one car. Any
Right.
future vehicle replacement, whether it be from the pre-existing fleet or the enhanced fleet for one man, one car, would have to come from somewhere other than SPOS dollars, sir.
All right, so somewhere in this presentation, are we gonna be talking about recapitalization of your vehicles?
Sorry.
No, go.
Okay. What we typically do, and a lot of these items, sir, for capital, because as Director Heaton has shown, whether you see the proposed or the 17 adopted, you see zeros. For the last several years, the only way that any capital items have been addressed is through fund balance reserves. So a lot of these items that, when we talk about 18 proposed, it's not included, but that would be a conversation that we've typically had through the reserve process, but we need to get back to as a part of the adoption process, because these are reoccurring costs each year
So that $2 million that we talked about last time.
for
was
vehicle
that-
replacement.
Was that for 17 or 18?
That was for 17, sir.
So, but it was strictly for vehicles,
Yes, sir. And that was countywide. That wasn't public safety.
right? Okay.
Okay.
But you have a schedule for that $2 million, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you mind sending that to the rest of us, please?
Happy to, sir.
Thanks.
And Chairman, since you mentioned the vehicles, we're approximately 100 short on the take-home, and our estimation is somewhere around, we would need to replace about 60 a year to keep a good rotation going. But as Bill said, that in the past has come from fleet and
Right.
other directions.
Okay, well, I want to see what this plan looks like that Bill has for recapitalization of the vehicles.
Okay. Any other questions for me? And if not, I'll turn it over to the other department heads until the final slide. And with that, I'll bring up Destiny Davison, our 911 director.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. For our mission statement, it's rather lengthy, but overall, it is to our 911 Communications Bureau is dedicated to improving the quality of life in our community by providing an effective channel of communication between the public and public safety responders. As you can see on the first slide, this is our org chart. We had a reorganization in mid-2016. Everything is funded through the 911 fund with the exception of the 800 megahertz department, which is a general fund. So for the purpose of management, 800 falls underneath me, but it's budgeted from a general fund. We have two basic divisions. We have an assistant an assistant director over our support operations, which is over all of basically the nuts and bolts, the computers, the phones, everything all the infrastructure inside the 911 system. On the other side is our floor operations, which is divided into 4 shifts, and we have all the call takers and dispatchers that are managed separately. Our quality assurance falls underneath our support operations, as well as our record supervisors, which are also our public information officers. Any questions on the org chart? So the next slide is our E911 fund. For FY17, adopted was 11.7. FY18 requested was 12.5, and then proposed was 11.7, leaving a 741,000 deficit. And basically, most of those fees are surrounded our personnel services. 661,000 of that is for personnel. As you can see, we upgraded a 911 analyst to a GIS/CAD specialist. Currently, we have 1 GIS specialist assigned to 911 and 1, CAD specialist, and we wanted to make those the same grade and cross-train them for redundancy, because having 1 personnel, if they're off or on vacation or sick, we need the redundancy in-house. Following the reorg, we assumed an additional assistant emergency communications director, and that was vital to making sure managing all of our contracts and all of the equipment inside the 911 center. That was a double fill that was approved in May of 2016. Again, we upgraded the CAD administrator to also a CAD GIS specialist, so they're the same pay grade. We requested an additional emergency communications operator position to handle the sheriff's office. Currently, we have 1 assigned to them, but on their peak warrant service days, which are Tuesday through Thursday, their call volume sometimes triples to quadruples, and 1 operator cannot safely accommodate their needs. So we had a proposal to consider cost sharing with the sheriff's department to get them the additional personnel that they needed for that. We also requested 4 call taker positions only. I'm sorry. I know what I'm saying.
So that cost sharing with the sheriff's department, how's that going?
That has not been proposed to them yet because it didn't make it through the budget, so we didn't.
But they know that it's out there?
I'm sorry?
They know that it's out there?
We've had discussions that we do need to double that position on several times. The cost sharing portion it's not quite been broached yet, but will in the future.
All right.
Again, we asked for 4 call-taking positions only. Currently, we have no call-taker positions they're all funded as ECO2 positions. What we'd like to do is create a separate call-taking class. What we found is that there's a lot of people that apply for 911 that don't have the skills to fully do both the dispatching and call-taking, but make excellent call-takers, and so we want to create that in an effort to fully fund that all day long. And also, it gives an opportunity for employees who maybe don't make it through the full training to become dispatchers. We can retain them if they're quality personnel and allow them just to handle calls. So we'd requested 4 of those. Currently, most of the call-taker positions are filled through our training, which we'd like to see that switch to a full-time position. And then again, we requested 4 additional emergency communication operator 2 positions. But I believe we have not increased personnel, probably, I think, 2009 or 2010. These numbers may change based upon the results of our needs analysis and strategic plan development that's out under RFP right now. so those numbers may change. The only capital change or request that we had was $80,000 for a 911 CAD simulator. It's actually for 2 of them. Currently, we send our operators down to the Georgia Public Safety Training Center to get their required Georgia State post certification. They're out of office for about a week. That training program, while it's fine for the state, is not specific to Cobb County 911. It's a very generic training, and we feel like we could do a better job if they're training inside on our CAD equipment. In addition, it would give us training for remedial needs when we have folks that need additional training before they can be released on their own. And then the only other thing that I had up here, which was not requested yet, we anticipate the phone system be replaced. That would cost us around $3 million. And then our uninterrupted power supply, UPS, is going to be replaced at about a cost of $40,000. Any questions on that so far? Okay.
So
Yes, sir.
you fund everything out of the 911 fund, right?
Everything directly related to the 911 center. The 800 megahertz department is funded through the general fund.
Right, okay, so a lot of these programs you have listed, how many of those can you fund out of your existing resources?
I'm going to defer to, where did he go? There he is. Come up here, Bill.
Yes, please.
So what we typically do is we go through and evaluate the revenues each year, and we know we have a 10-year model that we have in place, such as we do with most of the other funds, including fire. And what we've done is we track the revenues and then evaluate fund balance to see when we can accommodate these capital requests. And we also work with E911 directly to see the timing of these capital requests. So one of the things that we tried to do last year and the last couple of years is we treated all funds the same. And now that we're coming back to, as you know, last year we presented a capital plan for fire, and we've reviewed a lot of capital plans with E911. So we did the rate increase this year to build up the fund balance to address some of these capital needs. And now we're just going to monitor the revenues as they come in to make sure that's meeting expectations so we can continue on the capital plan that we have in place.
So what's your prioritization for these programs?
Go ahead.
I think personnel, first and foremost, is our most pressing need. But then again, for the large capital, those just are wear and tear. It's a 24/7 operation. And when the technology equipment is ready to be replaced, it has to be replaced. Otherwise, we risk running into serious service delivery issues.
Okay, so based on your projected revenue stream, are you going to be above or below the line to fund these?
I'm anticipating that we'll be fine through around 2020. As you know, Senate Bill 222 just passed. That's going to do some changes to how revenues are collected and distributed. I do know under the actual bill that passed, the Department of Revenue will take up to 1% for them. The authority will take 1%. So we're still sort of not really clear how that's going to affect us directly. We're hoping that it's going to be positive. The wireless fee increased from 75 cents to $1.50, and with that trend moving towards wireless, we anticipate that hopefully that will increase our balance as well.
Okay. And what, have you got in this budget here, the upgrade for your force protection around the building?
Yes, sir, I have that available to present to you. It was delivered to me last week, and just waiting to be able to have an opportunity to give that to you. It cannot be presented in executive, and I don't feel that the information needs to be presented in an open forum, so I'll have to get with you and one commissioner at a time to present that to you.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions for that?
One quick one, if you don't mind,
Yes, sir.
Director. If you go back, in the original slide, you're somewhere at 900,000 under what you need, is that?
Yes, sir.
But we do have that in the 911 fund, correct? That 900?
Currently, yes, sir.
So why can't we go ahead and do that?
I'd be happy to. Follow your lead on that.
This is the proposed budget as of for 18. So again, we're looking at this early in the 17 process. As revenues come online with the new fee increase, we may be able to do some of these things. So this was a very conservative estimate on what we thought we could do based on not knowing where the fees were going to go, because at the time we did the 17 adoption, we were still at $1.25. So the fee structure hadn't been changed at that point. So now that the fee structure has been changed and we'll start beginning seeing those collections at this quarter end, we will be able to have some more discussions about being able to add some of these items.
Okay, well, my concern is that we pay into this fund, all the citizens pay in this fund. It's not a general fund, and it goes directly to 911. And if we have a fund balance in there, we can be as conservative as we want, but she needs 4 operators or 10 operators, whatever. Well, let's get them. I mean, can't we do that?
Yes, sir. The key is also wanting to be able to address the capital needs that we knew were going to come online as well. Because even if we address the personnel needs, we knew the capital was eventually going to have to be replaced. So we want to make sure we had the money so the system wouldn't go down and we wouldn't have that loss and that capital expense that would have to be funded outside of the fund. So we're trying to maintain a fund balance that would still address all the capital needs and then be able to address the personnel issues as well. But the capital is kind of that threshold that we want to make sure we have available in case that goes down and we have to do a one-time cost right out of the gate.
I understand that, but let's give it some special attention if you don't mind.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
All right,
And I
thank you.
think we'll be in great shape after the fee structure increase.
So, Commissioner, just to give you an idea, for 2019, we have anticipated around $7 million in capital replacement. So that's where the being conservative comes into. Yes. Any more questions on 911 fund? Can you switch over? Thank you. All right, again, as I mentioned, the 800 megahertz, which supports the entire county, is funded by general fund. Very little that was not funded. 1.7 was requested, or excuse me, 1.72 was requested, 1.71 was granted. All of the costs that we'll need to make up is for the shared position with Bartow County. As you remember last year, Bartow County and 800 are jointly funding a position. So these were some just minor costs that were not budgeted for training and supplies and that sort of thing. Any questions about the 800? All right, thank you, sir.
I'm not trying to cause much controversy being in my commissioner role and not management role, but I just found it interesting that Ms. Davidson is sharing that personnel is her priority, but yet decisions are being made to ensure that there's funding for capital, and she's saying there's another priority, and who's setting that priority? You know, is it who's best fit to set that priority? The person that leads the department or somebody else saying that?
And that's why we're having these hearings the way we are, because we ultimately vote on it. We're the ones that set the policy. So you can make your appeal, but we're the final arbiters here. And as I learned a long time ago, you can buy all the weapon systems you want to, but if you don't have people to man them, they're useless. So,
Thank you.
hey, Skipper.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, Director, County Manager. I'm Captain Owens from Cobb Animal Control. My first slide you see before you is our mission statement. Very simplistic and to the point. Next slide. Next slide is our org chart. Myself, you see it listed at the top. I have two managers, one operational and one field manager, and up under each one of those are supervisors. Now you see it listed, those are just the rest of our positions that reside inside animal control. Total of 54 employees currently.
That last slide chart, are those positions all filled?
One is vacant right now, sir, which I made a hire this morning, and after today, on the 22nd, when the new employees start, I'll be filled.
Okay, so otherwise they're all filled.
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. Thanks.
So the current general fund chart here gives us our 8 rate increases. What we're asking for fiscal 18, it's a just amount of $1.1 million increases. And as we go through this slide presentation, I specifically point out where I'd like those increases to come from if possible. Next slide. Personnel services, the first slide up, sir. Asked an increase of $462,345. Basically, those are the breakdown is before you here for one new animal control officer number 1 at $172,227. Animal control officer 2 at $141,487. And animal control assistant, which is also another name for animal rescue coordinator at $63,600. And the last position is asking for a police officer 2, so I can have a second criminal animal investigator at the facility. I put bullets up in here, sir, but I can basically tell you where we're short in these positions are this. We move our ACO positions to help our vet staff out. We took ACO positions to put, which I showed to you last week. So I have 3 ACOs now working with the vet to help her do her functions as a vet, which is she's doing between 15 and 19 spay and neuters a day. So she needed help with that. So we moved 3 ACOs to help her out on that. By taking those 3 off the facility-wide, they left me 3 short in the facility. So they did that years ago, but we never, ever got those positions back which I'm making me still shorten the facility and the road. For the ACO2 positions, basically for us to become a more professional organization, sir, we need to have good trainers and qualified people that can train. So we're in the process of making sure we got trained officers out there, and all the trained officers should be at ACO2 level to train and receive a little more pay than their ACO1. Our animal rescue position, which stated here, the third bullet here, sir, basically for us to get with industry standards, we need one. We're probably the only facility around that do not have a full-time rescue coordinator. And that would help us get more animals out of our facility. Having someone to full-time talk to these rescuers, try to help get animals out, that would help us tremendously. We have a part-time coordinator now, but we really need to be a full-time. Every other animal control facility around the metro Atlanta area and pretty much in the state has a full-time person doing that job. And the last one is my police officer too. Right now, so I'm at a single point of failure, I'll be honest with you. If my investigator now leaves, quits, or whatever he decides to do, I do not have a second. And I do not want to have a single point of failure. So I need another investigator so I can always have two. And I think we'd be doing the county injustice, in my opinion, if I don't have a second investigator. And that way, if one leaves, I already got another, and I can train another and keep it moving. Right now, I'm at one, and I'm at a single point of failure right now currently. Pending questions? Next slide. Yes, ma'am.
The rescue coordinator, is that to make the part-time person full-time or an additional full-time and keep the part-time?
Make it a full-time position, ma'am, and get rid of
Okay.
part-time.
And what is the current salary of the part-time?
Good question. I do not have the correct answer to give you right now. I don't know her exact salary. I don't know that off the top of my head. But I can find it and I'll get it right back to you.
Okay.
So,
Because you could show the difference of,
yeah,
I mean, if they're making 25,000 now as part-time,
Right.
then you really wouldn't need 63,000 to make that.
Well, that's
a
all
full-
in fringe benefits and everything added into is in that work statement. So that's all that added into. Because
Right.
part-time doesn't get in those benefits.
Okay.
So we added a full-time, all the benefits you get as a full-time employee is added in that 60,000 as well.
All right. Okay.
But I'll get you the pay difference as well.
Thank you.
Next slide. But our operational is increasing by $22,000. The maintenance about our training budget is going to be the biggest, well, one of the biggest increases in that, but it's not the biggest. And it's for, we want to become a professional agency. Right now, we want to make sure all our animal control officers are certified, and it costs to get them certified. There are 2 different levels of training to become certified, and I want to get every animal control officer certified as an animal control officer. So we have to send them to school, and this bases the cost for me to go get them to be certified. I want them to be treated as a professional agency. To get that, you have to have a certification, and this is my plan ahead to get that way. Second is rabies vaccinations, which was unbeknownst to me not getting out there first time this year myself. I didn't think we had to have rabies unless you got bit. Wrong. For us, they need it because they're dealing with dogs every day and other type of animals they can have these diseases with. So we had this expense that we incurred this year, and it's going to be it's been there, but it was a big expense this year because we had to go back and get 30 of our officers rabies certified this year, which cost us a lot of money. It's $315 per shot, and it's 3 shots. I just did my last one 2 weeks ago. So you take 3 different shots, $315 per shot. Then every 2 years, we'll go back for what we call titer shots to check and see if the rabies serum is still in your system, make sure it's still good. And that costs us almost $200 as well. So it's a recurring expense we got to do to keep our employees safe and keep them from disease as well. And we have to ensure that all our employees have that. So that wasn't in our normal budgets. We need to be in there so we can make sure we account for that to keep our employees safe and healthy.
well, I would think we should be doing that anyhow.
If they're in contact with the animals, yeah.
I mean, this shouldn't be a plus up. This is something we should be doing as a cost of business.
But that's what we want, sir, to be the regular cost of business. In fact, I don't think it has
I
been
mean,
in the
there's
past.
some basic things you have to do that are the cost of business, and one of these is that all the officers, by some standard, have to have rabies shots, right?
Right.
So you're asking us to pay for something that we should be doing anyhow?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, you know where I'm going, Sam.
Get the shots.
Get the shots. This is crazy. You know, I appreciate what you're doing, I really do, all right? But I think this is one thing where We gotta take care of our people.
Right, so let me rephrase that, maybe I didn't
Too late.
present it correct. Yeah, I know, but not to take a shot at my boss.
Too late.
They did provide us with the monies, and we took it from other places. It just wasn't a budgeted type item, so we had to take from something else. We had to rob Peter to pay Paul. So he did come up with the money, $78,000 to get everybody done this year, but we took from somewhere else. What I want to do is, for the future, have this a budgeted item, so we already know that money's coming. We have to worry about robbing Peter to pay Paul every year.
Well, even if we're robbing, this is something we have to do.
Yes, sir.
okay? So I get that part. I do not want to have any officers out there that have not had these shots.
Yes,
If
sir.
they're dealing with, if they're in animal control. This is a safety of life item, and we do not want to jeopardize our officers, you know. There comes a point where money's not a reason not to do it.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Out of curiosity, how many officers do you have?
54.
54. Thank you.
But when I come down there, I don't want the shots.
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Don't budget for me, all right?
How many total employees?
54. Total employees I have is 54. Yeah, they do.
Here's that,
They turn in animals through there and they deal with them when they come in. They don't actually handle them to take them back in the back, so the
Yeah.
dog can come up and bite them.
Okay.
But normally right now, who's getting the shots are the ACO officers. The technicians up front currently do not get their shots, just the officers.
I think we need to have an ordinance where all campaigning candidates have to get the shot too, because I was bit last year.
Okay.
Can we put that in the budget too, Sam? Like, for all 20 candidates we had for one race this year?
If you've ever had those shots, I don't think you want them, sir.
Probably
yeah, really.
It is a little painful. Next slide, sir, is the capital improvement slide, pretty much. These are things we're asking for improvement for the facility. As you noticed from your visit last week and as your 2-hour visit, you stayed a long time and you took an in-depth tour of the facility and saw firsthand. The first thing we have on the list is four sweepers. Basically, I know you've been in the facility. What happens is we sweep and mop, we use the mop heads over and over again. We try to change them out. It's really not the most clean and effective way to use it. We need a sanitized way of cleaning these floors, and they make machines that we can use, It's like automatic sweepers, walk behind either ride, and it cleans, it puts water down, put down the right amount of chemicals you use to clean it properly, and it does an excellent job for us versus a mop. And the mop is just not a real good sanitary way of cleaning floors. And when we have dogs there who's urinate on the floor all day, all the time, it's become a lot of disease-borne things. So we got to keep these floors clean. So to get a device that we can use that takes less time to use, take manpower down from 3 hours mopping the floor down to 1 hour or 30 minutes, I can use that manpower doing something else in a more effective way, and we can clean more effectively as well. Our big item on this one, next one is vehicles. This is our big item. As you saw from our line inspection prepared for you last week, sir, our vehicle fleet is in pretty bad shape. Right now, I have a total of 15 vehicles, and right now that 15, 6 out of service. And that's my major concern. I only having that many vehicles out of service, and just today I couldn't even put one on the road because I didn't have enough vehicles. So, and we're working the best we can to get it up, but that's a big concern. Animal control vehicle, one vehicle for the van is $70,000. It's a very expensive van. So that's the high cost on that. So we're asking for 4 new vehicles to replace our aging fleet. As you can see, we have 4 vehicles over 220,000 miles, 2 vehicles over 300,000 miles. And it's just time to upgrade our fleet of animal control. The other 2 vehicles are for 2 detectives, hopefully received. I have 1 detective that's currently working and asked for a second. If I get the second, they will both need vehicles. And the correct type vehicle then will be the small SUV type vehicle. That way they can carry their equipment and catch poles and everything else they may need to do their investigations as well. We have 2 cars currently assigned to the facility. One is a 1999, that was a 2004 Crown Vic. I can do without one if I can get another one that runs and that's doable. And that would be my goal, if I at least get one and get rid of the 2 and I take 1 versus 2. Just to get another one, because these 2 here are not roadworthy. We have to take animals out, and we have to take tests to the state crime lab every day. Then we also have to go down to Athens, Georgia sometime and drop off in New Crossy for the head to be taken there, and that's a drive. So I don't have a good standard vehicle to get those employees there safely. Pending questions? Next slide. Continuing on capital improvement, it's our dog runs, which was on the last year's budget, and everything didn't get funded for that. So we're asking for the dog runs to, for our dogs. I mean, we need them. As you can see in the statements, it's a requirement that we need to have. The ones we currently have are not adequate. They're disease-borne, and we're trying to get them into a better situation so we can take care of our animals and give them the proper exercise and care they need while they're outside. The next item is the signage for the front. Most of our animal control constituents, as you see, come through here when y'all have your meetings. A lot of their arguments about not having signage out from the facility to notify people that this is Cobb Animal Control. We have a regular blue and white sign there, which is really not adequate. We would like to have a better sign, some type of digital sign, so we can notify specials we have and other things going on with animal control, which generate more people coming in there, hopefully to adopt animals and get them out of the facility. Last one is kennel doors, which is another high-ticket item. Kennel doors are the doors we have on the doors in the kennel itself where the animals are actually kept. And we wanted new doors, which one, cut down on the noise, and two, cut down the spread of disease. The dogs barking and barking each other and growling, you know, it's spit going across each other and they spreading disease. This will cut down the disease inside that facility and help cut down on our, hopefully, vet bill as well, taking care of the animals once they catch some of these airborne diseases as well. Pin your questions. That was my last slide, and I'll stand by if you have any questions for me.
Hi, good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. I'm Cassie Maslim. I'm here to talk about emergency management. Our mission statement is up there, as you can see, and our primary focus is to prepare for, respond to, recover from, and mitigate the impact of disasters here in our county. This is our org chart. We have a relatively small staff. Administrative coordinator also handles our grant oversight. Any kind of financial purchases, all that's handled through that position. We have an EOC coordinator whose primary focus is to run the EOC and training for our agency and the agencies that respond to that facility. Our public programs coordinator is responsible for all volunteer programs, which is our CERT program, Deaf CERT, search and rescue. And then we have our planner position, which is one of the primary focuses for me today. This position is very important to our agency. We just finished the stadium response guide, and we're just starting the COOP BCP plan that all of Cobb will be participating in. So that is one of my challenges for FY18. We operate off of an EMPG grant, which we've been fortunate enough to get $100,000 as long as I've been in emergency management. And last year we were notified that we would be receiving a reduction in the upcoming year of approximately $68,695. In order for me to pay for the planner position, it takes about $71,000, and that was before the merit increase for this past year. In the future, I would be asking that that position be taken out of a grant status because, quite frankly, it's very essential to my operation. Also, in addition to the challenge for the position are the warning sirens. We have 74 of those in the county. They are for the most part, they're all up to date, so maintenance for them is relatively inexpensive, but inexpensive could be anywhere from $800 to $1,000. We usually do go over on that budget, which is currently $16,500, and as of right now, we've already spent that $15,968. Just so you know, part of the $100,000 that we do use, any remaining funds that after that position was paid, I do use those funds to update software. This year, for instance, we are updating the software for the 911 center and for our backup center. Do you have any questions?
I've got a question for Bill.
Okay.
And it's something that Cassie said. She said that the pay for a position that's not filled was going to increase because of the merit pay increase. Merit pay is supposed to be for the individual, not the position.
This position is currently filled, your planner position?
Yes, it's filled.
Yeah, it's a filled
It's
position.
filled position.
Okay, so you're talking about a filled position, not an empty one?
Yes, it is
Okay,
filled.
all right.
Any other questions?
Chairman, I'll leave it up to you. If you guys wanted, because I know a big focus was on the general fund. Fire obviously has its own fund, and I know we got a couple that may have to leave. Would you prefer us go to the PD since it's general fund first, or do you have? I think Commissioner Ott and County Manager's gonna have to leave at 3 and 3:30, if I'm not mistaken. General fund, okay. If we can move this flash through the PD.
On all these positions in the different departments, are they all based on the paying class within the range?
Are you at any positions we're asking, or?
All of them, from the animal control officers to the,
Market control point of the position is the standard way we do that. So if you got a firefighter, they don't just say the beginning pay, they'll go to market control point of that position, and that's the numbers we use. So with these numbers, it probably doesn't have the paying class piece in there, I'm guessing, based on how we put it together.
Well, we should know. I mean, when you put the numbers up there for the salary, was that paying class or market conditions?
Well, it's market control point is
Right.
what we're using.
Right.
Yes.
So when we see $100,000 for
It's
position,
market control of the pre-study,
all right, okay.
yes.
So it might go up based on the pay study?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So with that, I'm gonna ask Chief Cox to come up and do the police side.
but
Thank you, Director. Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. I'm Tim Cox with the Police Department. Brought with me Rich Frazier, who is our budget person in the department, and Lieutenant Bell. They're since they're the brains primarily behind the budget. To start off with our mission statement, as you can see, it's on the screen, but to summarize it, we will demonstrate professional excellence in our department by utilizing proven police methodology, technology, and superb training, and we will do so with honor, integrity, respect, and for the dignity of all citizens. The next slide is our organizational chart. Now, this may be a little bit difficult to see, so I've got two follow-up slides behind this, but that is for the entire department. Pretty much if you break the department into two separate categories, your precinct operations and your support operations. The next slide, I believe, will show us the support operations. That is head up by Deputy Chief Prince. He covers the areas of crimes against persons, narcotics, training, and any other personnel that does not work out of the precinct and handle the calls for service. That runs about 30 to 35% of our manpower in the police department. Next slide is the precinct operation. This is what my primary duty was before the end of January and what I still cover to this day. We break it down into 5 police precincts managed by a police major and a police captain in each precinct. This makes up approximately 70% of the manpower in the police department. Speaking of manpower, we're looking at 690 approved positions. I think we have a total of 726. So that means we have roughly 30 to 40 civilian positions in the department to support this. All right, moving on to the budget. Under the general fund, as you can see, we have our FY14 actuals of $58,000, 15 was $62,000. I'm sorry, 15 was $62,000, 16 was $66,000, 17 was $65,000, and 18 we requested the 68. Looks like we're proposed for the 65. You see there's a little over a $2 million difference in those numbers. Any questions on that slide? All right, next slide. Personnel services in the police department. The personnel services, our biggest concern in this area is going to be our overtime, specifically with some of our openings that we currently have in the police department that have not filled as of this point. Most of those openings are either recruits that were hired that did not complete the training or retire, combined with the entire retirees leaving. So that increases the workload on some people and requires extra overtime. We also have overtime from SunTrust Park to factor into this. And that is still, exact number is still unknown, but it's going to be probably a pretty big hit on our overtime. Also in consideration is if we get to a future implementation of a precinct 6, increase of our K-9 unit. I believe there's 2 per year for the next 2 years. And then obviously any civilian positions to support the increase in the sworn officer status, the support staff.
What was our estimate for the overtime for the Braves and Battery Park?
The estimate that I was told was just a little over $1 million, $1.3 million, something like that. I will tell you our first 7-game series, and these are not precise numbers. These are very ballpark based on no straight overtime, no time and a half, and based off market control points. The first 7-game series ran approximately $82,000 to $83,000 for on-duty services.
For all the games or just per game?
For all the games, it's between 11 and 12,000 per game.
Okay, so, and how many games do we have left through the end of August or September?
I don't know how many games. I know I've been told we have a total of 10 homestands, but some of those homestands will be more than 7 games or maybe less than 7 games.
All right, so we're estimating per game, we need $12,000 in overtime per game, right? Or
Yes,
11 to
sir.
12? Is that a rough guess?
It's a very rough guess, yes,
All
sir.
right, and we know we got 81 games, right?
Okay.
Home games. So we can guess that somewhere it's gonna be close to $900,000.
Okay. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right, I was just curious. Thanks. Sure, go ahead, Commissioner Cupid, thank you.
This may be for the board, and I don't know how many of you got calls last week, but, you know, I had a press inquiry with respect to why we're shouldering this cost versus the organization, and I don't know if this was ever a point of negotiation between Cobb and the Braves about how this cost would be covered. You know, it seems that research is showing that it's standard practice for the organization to pay for the
Oh, I agree,
officers
but
coming.
I would have to get, where's the lawyers? To see what the development agreement agreed to. I
And
mean,
I don't
you're
recall.
hostage to the development agreement.
It's in the
Okay,
state.
so it's there. All right, we signed off on it.
It's in the stadium operating agreement, section 21. It says what the Braves will pay for, and therefore, the things that are not listed there, the county pays for. So basically, what it says is that the Braves pay for everything inside the perimeter of the stadium and the battery.
And I believe also, if you look at it, the Braves handling inside, other entities in the parking, security in those areas are also handled on an off-duty or private organization. We're looking at on-duty resources, mainly traffic and pedestrian safety across the roadways.
Okay, so all the officers that are within the footprint of the battery in the stadium, those are being paid for by the Braves organization.
The Braves are paying for some, and then the battery is also paying for some themselves also.
Okay, so this cost we're incurring is outside of that footprint.
Yes, ma'am, it's related to the traffic direction or pedestrian crossing areas.
Okay.
Okay, Chief, thanks.
All right, next slide, we get into the operating budget items. I won't go into all the numbers, because obviously they're there. I think, though we see in the requested increase column of 18, the shortfalls, or I'm sorry, the unfunded amounts, 37,840 for ammunition, accountable equipment 424,013, registration 18,567, travel 30,000, and maintenance contracts of 283. Now, we've been able to offset some of this cost in the past because our fuel costs have gone down. I don't know how successful we'll be able to do that in the future because we have been blessed with a increasing our take-home car program. That does put more cars on the road. Fortunately, fuel costs have been down. If they go up, that we may not be able to get funding or be able to save funding out of that. We've also been able to use some of our special fund or for key purposes, purchases, special funds being the stop arm bus citations, the false alarm fund, and then also some seizures from manpower that we have in a DEA or IRS units.
Okay, so what's the significant plus up for accountable equipment between 17 and 18? Is that for body cameras?
Some of that is body cameras. We also did the mobile field force equipment. Our mobile field force had dwindled significantly, and we're trying to bring it back up and combine that with working with Marriott and Kennesaw. So we had to do some of their equipment, get that back into shape. We also have our body armor plate carriers. They have a life expectancy, depending on each given one. Some of that's 5 years. We've not done so much our weapons at this point. We're probably going to be hit with that in a couple of years. We're getting about a 10-year mark on our weapons before we change those out.
And you said that your fiscal year adopted for maintenance contracts was $215K? And
Yes, sir.
You've already spent $282K.
Yes, sir, we are over that.
So you're taking $60K out of Hyde to pay for that?
We're taking it from someplace, sir.
It's coming out of fuel, if I'm not mistaken.
Coming out of fuel.
Yes, as the chief was talking. As the chief mentioned, we try to budget our fuel for the fleet.
Right.
We've been fortunate in the last year that fuel costs have been down, so savings there is some money elsewhere.
Okay. Well, I know what we're doing, all right? Just let's not make it so obvious. And you know what I'm talking about here. Right, Bill? All right.
All right, next slide. It's the capital improvement and capital replacement. Now, you'll see almost two identical slides, at least for the chart, this one and the next one. We broke it down by FY17 and FY18. The adopted for 17 was, and 18 was flat. We're requesting the 596 for the improvement and 620 for the replacement. That will be going to replace some of the current equipment that some of the specialty units use. And we also have some bomb equipment, robots that are reaching their 20-year mark of service. Technology has changed quite a bit, so we need to replace some of that. Also, we have also used some of our specialty funds to fund the IS positions here recently also. Next slide.
I have a question. Hold on,
Yes,
Tim.
sir.
On the things like the bomb robots and all that, I know that there have been agenda items over in the past that through different federal agencies, they have been purchasing some of these bomb robots, then we maintain them in exchange for mutual aid.
Yes.
Why would that not continue in the same format? Because we haven't, and what I remember, we've been given 2 or 3 bomb robots and some other things through those kind of setups.
Right, and a lot of times we're getting that through the grants. While participating in that, we don't always get those grants, and in this particular case, I don't believe we have. Okay. This is the second slide I was talking about. I don't want to cause any confusion. Since we were flat for 17 and 18, you'll see a lot of the same things in the same request. In here, you'll also notice at the bottom of the slide, it says patrol cars, 40 replacement patrol cars. We lose approximately 16 to 20 patrol cars a year that are through accidents that may get totaled out or whatever, and then we lose the remainder through high mileage and service issues where it's no longer cost effective to replace them. So we need to stay at that 40 replacement patrol vehicle number. If we don't, we fall behind. This does not have anything to do with any of the take-home car program vehicles. This is just purely replacing vehicles that on a yearly or annual basis.
That's at 50K a shot?
Yes,
With all
sir,
the
it is.
equipment and everything, right?
Approximately 50,000
So you're looking at a recurring cost of $2 million a year.
just for this, yes, sir.
It's transferable.
Yeah. Okay, I was just curious.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Forgive me if this has already been addressed. We had an
see
agenda
what you're
item
saying.
this year where we did purchase additional body cameras, or did we purchase the service for IT?
We actually did purchase body cameras, and we did that. We did do the cameras out of the budgeted fund, but we also used our specialty funds from stop arm and false alarm units
Oh, yes.
to fund the IS positions, because without those positions, the support, we were not going to be able to get those cameras in service.
Okay, is it anticipated we'll continue to use those funds to cover that? No, I see Bill.
We're almost halfway through our precinct officers as far as body cameras, maybe just a little shy of that, maybe between 45%. So I would anticipate, yes, ma'am, we're going to have to come up with the funding for the remainder of that.
Okay.
Now, we have in the past used funds from our ICE, not grant, the officer that we have assigned to the ICE unit, seizure funds. And we've used in the past to purchase those when needed. Okay, next slide. Other department budget information on here. The SPLOST headquarters and training center, I believe combined on that, we were going to be approximately $40 million allotted on the SPLOST. We don't know the exact amount it's going to cost to replace headquarters and a training center, including the evidence unit, but it's anticipated it's going to be well over the $40 million. We just talked about the body-worn camera program. Also, we have the some recommendations that may be forthcoming out of the IACP report, and some issues related to SunTrust Park and also the training unit. One of those being SunTrust Park, purchase of a drone. This is not your drone type that you would buy at any hobby store. This is more of a military commercial grade drone that could help with security issues. It would also help with any accident scene investigation, and a little further explanation on that. Where you have a fatality accident on a roadway or interstate, and you see the officers out there with the roadway shut down measuring for evidence that may take several hours. This particular drone can hover over the scene. We have been told shut down the roadway for 15 to 20 minutes. From the sky, it will map the whole scene, download the software, and we have a scaled diagram. So I'm going to pretty much do in 20 minutes what takes hours of shutting down an interstate. So there's great value in that. Firearm simulators for the training. Our current firearm simulator is not functioning, is out of service, and is also very old technology. So we'll need to replace that. And those will probably most likely come out of our specialty funds, or our not seizures, but stop arm and false alarm. We have to be careful with our seizure funds because there's federal guidelines restricting our using in those that we don't have in the other fund areas. And that concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions. All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. I'm Allison Carter. I'm the Director over at the Safety Village. And as you can see, our mission statement is to provide the highest quality safety education and training available. This effort will enable our citizens to help and protect themselves and others from accidental death, injury, and destruction of property. Our org chart, as you can see, the director, and then I have 2 property management personnel, 2 maintenance guys that fall and are stationed at the village but are paid through DPS property management. Then we have 2 admins under me, and then the lieutenant. And then lieutenant is over our 6 educators. And as you know, 4 of those are firefighters and 2 are police officers that make up the safety village. And as the next slide, you can see that our budget, the only increase that you see between 17 and 18 are minimal. One is an increase in our annual maintenance and support contracts. And that came about when DPS took over our property management side of things. And so we took on that increase that typically came out of property management. And then accountable equipment was for some minor pieces. One was a dishwasher, some lawn equipment, and then replacing some damaged tables in the Civic Center, and furniture replacement for the Safe Kids side. And that's it for me. Any questions? That's okay, thank you.
If you can back it back up to fire.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. While he's getting to our slides, I just want to say thank you for your ongoing support of the requests that have been made through the fire department. Obviously, they were instrumental in us obtaining our ISO 1 last year, and then also of us regaining our accreditation back in February of this year. And so we'll be obviously meeting a annual compliance report on our accreditation process, and some of the things that you'll see me bring out in this presentation are supporting some of the, or meeting some of the recommendations that were made to us as we were going through the accreditation program. Our mission statement is we exist to provide superior fire rescue and emergency services to the citizens and visitors of Cobb County in a proficient, professional, and compassionate manner. We continuously promote life safety within the county by practicing prevention, planning, education, and training. This is the entire organization, and I'm going to have about 3 or 4 slides after this to kind of dissect our organization and the different responsibilities. Go ahead. This shows Preparedness, who is Deputy Chief Bill Johnson. He is a liaison to the Safety Village, as you can see the dotted line there. He also is responsible for our station rebuilds, locations to rebuild fire stations or new fire stations. He's responsible for apparatus maintenance, training division, fire and life safety education, and then he is also responsible for our planning. Next slide. This is our response section, which is Deputy Chief Tanks. He's responsible for everything that goes on out in the street. And you'll see also he's responsible for professional standards, which is most of our disciplinary, and hopefully he's not too busy in that category. He also is responsible for our EMS operations, which is a great part of what we do today. Next. This is our Fire Marshal's office. This is, of course, Chief Westbrook. And you can see how his organization is laid out as well. Next. As you can see, the trending of our budget, the presentation I'm going to give to you today and the requested items that we're going to be asking for are supported by the projected revenues that the fire fund will be taking in for this year. So that last number to the far right is key and critical in this presentation. We're not going to be requesting anything that's not supported by the proposed revenues that will be coming into the fire fund. So to take a look at what we're speaking of today for FY17, I just want to say I express my gratitude to all of you for supporting the hiring of those 43 positions for FY17. For FY18, we're requesting 30 additional personnel. And I know, County Manager and Chairman, you are not in your current position when I made the presentation back in August to the entire board for our 5-year strategic plan. I will get that to both of you so that you can see the details of that strategic plan. But what we did in FY17, we met all those needs that we had FY17, FY18. I can give you a detailed layout of what those 30 positions will consist of. Many of those will be for a dedicated heavy rescue in the north part of the county. We have one now currently at our Cumberland station. That was one of the items that were addressed through our accreditation, was that what are we doing to the north side for a dedicated technical rescue team, which is our swiftwater, high angle rescue, those types of things. And so many of those 30 positions will be taking care of that dedicated squad in the north part of the county. The next item is for our advanced life support for our medical operations team. Currently, we provide ALS services, if you will, to our SWAT team here in the county, whether it be sheriff or police, when they go on high-risk warrants. Those people are there for our responders, not the public. And so we have some positions there that are that don't get specialty pay for that unit. We would like to include those. And then to attract paramedics, which are seems to be a dying breed, we want to increase their specialty pay from 5% to 10%. Many of the area jurisdictions in the metro Atlanta area have that. And I think we could be very competitive in recruiting paramedics, which is cost about $5,000 per employee to send through paramedic school. And it's pretty nice when you get those that already meet that, that are paramedics and someone else paid that $5,000. So, and then operating expenses to outfit those 30 that we're requesting to hire. We got to train them, we got to outfit them, we got to equip them, and that's what that $714,000 represents. And then I can get you a detailed explanation of the capital improvements and replacements for that $1.2 million. Much of that is to support the capital expenditures. For instance, we've got some 2 training rooms down at the training tower that we need to do some renovation in. We need to equip many of our stations who don't have backup emergency generators. We're trying to go through and do 2 or 3 of those a year. Items like that are what's included in that $1.2 million, and I can get you a detail of that if you would like. I can email that to you along with this presentation. So with that, those are the main items that we're requesting for 2018. And then I know all of you are aware that we have a very healthy fund balance in fire. I wanted to throw some of the items that we're looking to do for FY18 up here for you to show you that we have plans for that those funds. We have gaps in the county where we would like to add an additional fire station, which is going to be out close to Macklin Road and Macklin Baptist Church there at the Aquatic Center. We have a gap there between the Compton Elementary Station, the Powder Springs Road, the Lost Mountain, and then the Barrett Parkway Station. We got a pretty good gap there where we're suffering a little bit on response times. And then, of course, we would like to put our dedicated hazmat team in a station, and we're in conversations with the airport for property there to build an additional station as well. And so, and last, you'll see on here where because of the volume of fire station rebuilds and new station additions, we need to hire a project manager to oversee the building of those fire stations. It's just, that's too much work for anyone, and this is nothing negative by no means, and we've had this discussion with property management, that the volume, the workload of work that needs to be done, I think we need to hire somebody to oversee the construction of those fire stations, working with Chief Johnson to get those rebuilds done. We still have 6 stations that were built in the 60s that we need to replace, and all that's a part of our 5-year strategic plan that will have some impact on this fund balance. Next. Any questions?
So what is your fund balance right now for capital?
We'd have to get Bill.
I don't have the exact number with me, but I'll get you the exact number.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay. Commissioner Burrow?
But that's all fire fund.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is a separate, it's not general fund.
That's right.
So
Yes, ma'am.
you're kind of on your own and doing well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. Good.
I just want to add something real quick. The reason the fire does have this fund balance is that during the downturn of the economy that fire deferred a lot of the capital projects and it built up over time. And as Chief Crowder just mentioned, he presented the capital improvement plan. So part of our follow-up each year will be to sit down with fire and go over that plan and make sure the actual revenues are coming in line with that plan and the capital expenditures are still keeping pace with that plan. So we'll continue to provide updates as we go through that.
Okay, I got a couple questions. What is the historical reason we never had a police fund? I'm sure it would have a huge impact on budget, but I'm sitting here looking at this fire fund, which seems to be working marvelously, almost too well, all right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not looking to take your money.
Well, I think what Mr. Boatman said was key. We deferred a lot of our projects.
Sure.
When the times were tough, and that's why.
Right.
Taking your money, don't
Yeah, we're
Thank
fine
you.
with that. I'm not gonna do anything.
That's the answer I was looking for.
Yeah, you're fine. I'm just curious because if public safety is our number one priority, this should be a non-issue, that we do the same funding mechanism for the police that we do for fire fund.
But, Mr. Chairman, one of the reasons, when it was looked at in the past, the reason the fire fund works the way it is the folks that live in cities that do not have a fire department pay into the fire fund. Every city has a police department. Therefore, the residents of the incorporated cities would not pay into the fire fund or the police fund. So those dollars would be removed from the general fund budget. And it's a sizable amount of money.
And yet, Cobb Police have authority to work inside city jurisdictions.
Yeah, but that's just the way the law is written with the separate funds.
Well, it still strikes me that for the unincorporated part of Cobb, and we're looking at substantial requirements here, and clearly we don't have the kind of money to do that, okay, without a significant millage increase. Or bond, yeah, I mean, the problem is that we can't do another SPLOS because you can't have two concurrent SPLOS. So, yeah, I just think that, it's like walking the walk. Is public safety our number one priority or is it not? And if it is, then we should be taking every measure to ensure that we have the sufficient resources to address the requirements. And then the board is to make sure that that this fund is used appropriately for that manner. So, how about looking at that? All right, I realize what Commissioner Ott is saying. We can't be touching the cities. I get that part. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'm a little confused, but this would be funding the PD and unincorporated, just like city residents fund their PD with their taxes. So what's the difference? They're gonna pay the same property tax that they pay to the county.
No, they won't. That's what happens. We have to subtract out. They would be paying twice for police.
Right.
They would pay in the city and the county, and you have
Right.
to take the county part out.
Right.
And
Well,
that's,
we are taking it out. We're doing a separate fund and it won't be on their bill. I get a bill, I got mine, got one from the city, I got one from the county, I got one from fire.
right, but you have to decrease from the general fund millage, that amount of money.
I'd like to see the numbers instead of Commissioner Ott's law degree over there.
It just, we've gone down this road before, okay? Gwinnett County went down it, and it
Okay.
cost them millions of dollars
Okay.
when they went that direction. And they went that direction by court decree because they were not doing what Cobb does with how we deal with police.
And yet we are.
It's all under House
and-
Bill
and-
489 is
And
what
yet,
this is
and
working
yet
on.
we are substantially underfunded to address public safety on the police side. True? So pay me now or pay me later. The bottom line is that we're mixing up with the police department with the rest of the bill payers. And so there it's an equal fight when it shouldn't be an equal fight. I noticed right here in one of your things, you have this differential pay, okay? Which is one of the things we're looking at to address after the pay study is completed and we've done all the appeals. All right, so I guess the question I'm really asking you is if in an ideal state, all right, what is the true cost of this police department? And then what would be the millage rate we would need to support that? That's the real question that I'm having.
Sure.
Okay? So shock me with that someday, all right? Because this gets to the heart of why we live in Cobb County. We have the best public safety department. I genuinely believe that in Georgia. I really believe that. And we do a great amount of things with the money that we have here. And I'm not looking, to double the millage rate, so we can have a paramilitary organization in Cobb County. I'm not looking for that at all. I'm really against that kind of image for our police department. But I look at one item here alone, $100 million for a training center, okay? We're talking real money now. And it's all well and good to have that, but you shouldn't be doing public safety as pie in the sky sort of stuff. It should be something you can program out over 5 years as so we can give your department an idea of what we're going to be able to achieve in 5 years and how we're going to pay for it. And more importantly, tell the taxpayer, this is how we're going to pay for it, and this is why we're asking for this millage rate. So,
I think we're confusing apples and oranges here, because I know House Bill Order 489 specifies what cities and duplication of services, and there's reduction to the county property tax for city residents for certain things that they do, such as recreation, parks, fire, police, whatever. What Gwinnett did was they were not providing the services, but were charging for it, and they got sued by all their cities, and a court order decided that.
That's not the case here.
And Gwinnett has 15-plus cities because the county obviously not doing their job. Here, we haven't had a city since 1860 because the county is doing its job. So I live in a city, and I'm proud to live in a city, but I live in Cobb County, and I drive through several cities to get here, as well as Cobb County, and I don't mind paying for whoever helps me when I need public safety for that reason. And I don't think most people would either. In a separate fund that is protected, like the fire fund, maybe the numbers don't work as Commissioner Ott says. I don't know. I haven't seen them. I haven't been here when they were proposing that, and neither's the chairman. So I would like to see pros and cons. At least that would be on the table.
Sure, and if I may, sir,
Sure.
as policymakers in the county, there's nothing to say if we do our strategic plan and we lay out that program, whether it's a 5-year strategic plan or whatever we want to call it, that you as the board dedicate that funds through the budget.
Yeah, you got a good point there. I would agree with that. But nonetheless, I still want to know what the cost is.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? Because clearly we're entering into a new age. And we're ahead of the power curve because we've done the right things. But I'm starting to, get a little queasy here, given particularly in light of the fact that next year we're going to do a flat budget again, okay, except for the Parks bond, unless I'm outvoted. And sometimes that can break the bank. That 1 year you never catch up again, okay? And I hope that no one would be afraid to have that discussion with me just because I have enunciated my opinion about where I want to go, that would prohibit you from saying, yeah, Mr. Chairman, but I just want you to know that if you do that, this is what's going to happen probably. That's the kind of conversation I expect from the staff, to let me know that by all means jump off that cliff, but by the way, sir, there's no water at the bottom.
Sure.
Okay, see what I'm saying? And I hope by now that you all have the comfort to know you can say, you can do whatever you want to. I just need to know what the facts are. So we can make an informed decision by the board and then have that discussion among the board about how we're going to do that. Now, I'm not looking for this answer overnight, okay? This is probably a working session for later, in the summer or something.
Sure.
But you see where I'm going. I would really like to know what it's going to cost us to have a first-rate 5-star public safety, because I really believe that public safety is the number one priority. I really believe that. And I think we owe it to the public that if this is what you want, I think that's what they want. This is what it's going to cost you, and this is how we plan to get there.
Sure.
Okay?
All right.
But we won't solve this overnight.
I agree.
Don't bring me that solution, okay? That's just not going to happen.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
what I think we should what I would recommend that we also let the board consider, I think that part of our updated 489 agreement with the 6 cities involved an intergovernmental agreement on the millage rate that was somewhat tied back to police services, among other things. So, Ms. Mabry, maybe we could make sure that we could get a copy of that to all the commissioners as well as to Sam and Randy. So it might be something for us to consider as we move forward with
Yeah,
that.
and we just had a really great 489, discussion a couple months ago. So I don't want the word to go out that we're happy now, but we're not happy, we won't be happy tomorrow. I don't want that at all. I just want that this is a discussion we need to have, and everyone's invited to the table. So like I said here, just because we're talking about it, we're just trying to have an informed discussion, so. Well, I think you did a really great job on this. The only question I have, Bill, is that you showed a slide somewhere to me that because of the way that, and I'm not saying that we should be changing our operational approach. Chief Cox, you can come up to the podium here. This is, Randy, thank you, Randy, I appreciate that. That because of the way where we're focusing our mission on public safety has had an impact on revenue stream.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I just think that the board needs to be aware of that I'm not looking for a change in the mission or your direction, how you protect us, Chief.
Yes, sir.
But the focus is on an area that has had an impact on our revenue stream to how much?
Are you referring to the fines and forfeiture, sir?
Yeah, right.
At the peak, it was 11 million. I think we're gonna be around 5 this year.
So it'll be about $6 million.
Yeah.
Okay, I just think the board needs to know that.
Right.
And again, there's no hidden agenda here. It's just a matter of getting everyone, all the facts out there, so we know what we're talking about here, and we don't have to go around pretend like we don't know of it, okay? Right. I don't want any of that stuff, so. But I was really impressed with the presentation, and it was the right level. Great job. Thank you. Keep up the good. Thank you for all you do for protecting us here in Cobb County.
And if I may, sir, just as Chief Cox said, the fire department has put together a tremendous strategic plan that was presented last year, and you see that working already. I know that Chief Cox and I have had discussion as well as with Director Davidson putting that same type of plan together. And as you said, I would love to be able to present something this summer and really give you some numbers, and so that you would have an idea of what it would cost and how we could maybe plan that out over a 5-year plan or whatever. But I can tell you, for the 1,700 plus men and women of public safety that are out there every single day, I couldn't be more proud of what they do every single day, and we appreciate any support that we always get from you guys. So thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Yes, sir.
And with that, I call this meeting adjourned.